guys, so today I'm here with Mason, and he's got a blog called Self-Made Athletes. He produces a lot of good content, and he teaches a lot of young people how to work out better and just be healthy. So glad to have you on, Mason. We've known each other since forever.
Yeah,
right?
Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, it's my pleasure. So one thing I want to ask you is, what do you hope to accomplish with your blog, Self-Made Athletes?
To be honest, the platform that I just started is literally to give back to the community. I just want to share all my experiences, the trial and errors that I've gone through, and just not educate people, but just show them that there's other people out there that might be doing the same thing or they've experienced the same difficulties, and I just want to be able to relate and give back to others who are starting their fitness journeys or their health journeys, or they want to make a change in their lives. It's literally all the content there. It's for free, and I just want to give back to the fitness community.
Right. So you want to give back to the fitness community. What made you want to go on this journey? What made this mission happen? What's your story?
It's crazy because I started gymming maybe close to like 10 years ago. But at that time, there was no resource for me to really tap into and be like, okay, if I want to start gymming, what should I do? And even over the last couple of years, it's always just been like, oh, that guy's really big. Whatever he's doing, I'll try to do that. But,
right.
Now I've come to a stage where I've grown so much that some people who have seen my growth, like yourself, might come up to me and ask me, hey, like, what are you doing? What are you eating? What are your practices like? And more and more people have come to me asking me that. And rather than just going to individuals or individuals coming to me, I just thought I'd share that wealth with everyone, and put it onto my own personal blog and share that with anyone who might be interested. And I wanted a place where, I had my own voice, but at the same time, be able to be accessible to everyone. So it's not exclusive, like nobody has to pay for a subscription or anything like that. It's not online coaching.
You don't do online coaching, right?
Not at the moment. I don't feel like I'm at that stage in my career yet. And again, the main purpose of this is really just to share my knowledge, my experiences with people.
Right. It's funny that you say, like, in the last 10 years, that's your progress. Dude, I go back, how far back do we go?
When I was like
I think you're grade 8, right? So that's like
maybe even younger than that.
Yeah, I remember you in grade 5, 6 actually. Yeah, so I remember like when I was, so I used to coach Mason basketball, right? And one of the things is he was scrawny, short, but he's got quicks. And he's got quicks, and he had decent handles, and so, like, your shot's still suspect to this day.
Yeah.
But now that you're jacked and juicy and you're on the court running around and knocking people around, it's changed the game a little bit, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and so it's kind of fun to see like Mason's progress in this regard. But in your case, like, you say that it's for free. It's you want to share the ideas. But like about your own personal progress, what do you wish you had known at the very beginning, that you could tell everyone that they can benefit from?
Yeah, I really wish that someone told me that if it comes down to fitness, that there's fundamentals that you should definitely perfect.
Okay, so what's a fundamental?
So the number one fundamental that I would suggest is squats, because squats work out a whole bunch of different things, not just your butt, not just your legs. Works out on your core, works out on your stability, works out on your form. So if someone told me, hey, like, before you even do bicep curls, make sure you do squats, perfect that. That's like one of the fundamentals that you really want to get down. And then to top that off is to just make sure that your form is good, right? Because I used to just walk into the gym and the first thing that I really wanted was nice chest and like six pack.
Chiseled abs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the IG
Washboard
the
abs,
IG model.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing, yeah.
But what I soon found out is that over a course of a year or 2 years of working out so hard on your chest, it's not a major muscle group that you need to work out on that much. And there's a lot of other muscle groups that you should work out on, like your legs, like your back, that actually hold up all the other muscles to make yourself look good.
Right. So one thing I'm curious about is, so a lot of our listeners, we focus on education,
Yeah.
and we focus on like a kind of like a work-life balance, study-life balance kind of thing, right? Nowadays, a lot of people are, you're on the street, like we hear this all the time. You're always on the street, and then people heads down all the time on their phones, hunched over at their desk, and just a lot of times you're just like that, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, working out your back and your legs and your core has a lot to do with this. Tell us a little bit about the benefits of working out and this kind of stuff. Right? You work at the desk. You work a desk job as well, right?
So I do a 9 to 5, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like you just get into the habit of kind of slouching over a little bit, and that's kind of where you want to work out on these major muscle groups and make sure that there's like a conscious thinking, like you don't always want to be slouched over, because it actually just screws up your posture a little bit. So what's important to know is, okay, if you know that you're at a 9 to 5 job, your posture is bad because you're hunched over at a desk. If you work out with that same posture, your muscles, first of all, when you're working out, you might be using the wrong muscles because your form is wrong. And second of all is, let's say you started developing a bigger chest, right? But your chest is a lot heavier than your back. Since you already have that hunch, like a little small hunch on your back, your shoulders will cave in even more.
Right.
And you'll notice it a lot more when you have a heavier chest and a weak back to hold that chest. And when your shoulders start to cave in, you'll actually hunch even more, and it becomes not as, like the end result of your physical appearance is not as nice as you wanted it to be.
Right.
So when people kind of see that, they'll be like, oh, I worked out for half a year, my chest looks pretty good, but why does my back kind of like turn a little bit? Like it's not nice.
Right. Why do I get back pain even?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like when they do certain things, they'll start to hurt themselves because initially their form wasn't that good, and they'll be, no matter how big your chest might be, since your form was wrong, you were pulling on the wrong muscle, and then now when you try to go heavy, you might increase the risk of hurting yourself.
Right.
So for people who are always, either sitting down or kind of hunched back, you just need to get into a subconscious level of like, okay, I need to sit up straight, like exactly like what you just did.
Right.
Especially with sofas, it's really easy to just like kind of
like that,
just lean back and chill, or
Right.
kind of slouch a little bit. So you just have to get into this subconscious mindset where, okay, every time I sit, I'm going to try to straighten my back for 15 minutes.
Right. Straighten my back.
Exactly. And sometimes when you sit down, it might look weird, but it's better to look weird than to have bad posture. You know what I mean? And evidently, for the last, I would say, half a year or so, I think when you last came to Hong Kong, you're like, oh, how come your shoulders look a little bit rounded still? And then I started to focus on my back a lot.
Right.
And one thing that I didn't do before was work out on my back because I'm a little bit old school. I like to check myself out in the mirror to see my progress, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get to see your back in the mirror, right?
That's a good point. You always look through this, right?
Yeah. So when you look in the mirror, you just see, oh, my chest looks good, my abs are coming out, I got nice arms, but you never see yourself with your back.
Right. But did you feel your back? I mean, like at a 9 to 5 office job, did you feel your back tugging? Because if your chest are so big and there's a lot of, it's pulling on you, right?
Yeah, you'll be very tired.
Very tired.
Yeah, so like maybe for like an hour when you're typing away, you'll notice that you kind of like start to cave a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's because your posture is tired. So you're going to end up kind of just slouching even more and more.
So it's kind of like your chest is heavy, your back is getting pulled up as a result of that.
Exactly. And then sometimes You know, it happens at an office job. When that happens, and you feel that,
Yeah.
subconsciously you're like, oh, you know, I'll go grab a cup of coffee.
Right.
And you stand up, and that kind of refreshes you, and you like stretch, and, and you go to the toilet or whatever, right?
Right.
You come back, you start off fresh again, and then you slowly go back down.
Cave down. Yeah.
So that's why you've always got to have this mindset to just do your best to stay at that position. And one thing that I've noticed that really helps is rather than sitting on a chair, people who sit on the bouncy yoga balls, that actually really helps.
Right.
Because there's nothing for you to lean back on,
Right.
and even when you start to like slouch in, it's like you just roll back and then it's like straightened up again.
Right. Right.
One thing that I like to do is
So
I
do you
like
actually
to
do that? Like sit on a yoga ball
yeah,
at work?
yeah, exactly. A lot of people in my office have started to do that.
Okay.
But
were you the first to do that, and everyone's like,
no, I wasn't the first one to do it. Actually, what I've started doing is just standing.
Okay.
So if you have an adjustable desk, just
Right.
stand at your desk for an hour. One, you can burn more calories, but two, it's less likely for you to slouch. So just adjust the table height so that your arms are about 90 degrees, so that they rest there.
Right.
Rather,
so it's ergonomic.
exactly.
Right.
Rather than if it's too low, you will definitely slouch, right? And you will definitely feel it. But if you just have it at an ergonomic level, about 90 degrees, where your elbows are, your posture will be fine for the day. And
Right.
some people might say like, oh yeah, but I'm tired. Well, that's fine. Like you can adjust it back down, sit for another 30 minutes, sit for an extra amount of minutes. And then when you feel like you're ready, stand back up again.
Right. It's interesting that you say that, because I remember, 2 years ago when I was writing my PhD thesis, right? I was just like typing all the time. I spent literally like maybe like 8 hours a day just at the desk.
Yeah.
That was before I got the Apple Watch, right? Which is nice
It
because
tells
it's
you,
a wearable. You wrote a blog post about that, right?
Yeah.
It taps you. It's like, oh, time to get up, and then it's always a good refresher, like you said.
Mm.
But anyways, when I was sitting down and typing all the time, what I realized was like, hey, it's like I got parts of my body that are hurting that is not engaged. And then I was looking up, I was like, oh, like having the right ergonomics is really important. Not, like you said, 90 degree, like your arm in 90 degree, shoulder rested, get those foot rests kind of things, so that you make sure your legs are 90 degrees, some back support and all that, and then you can go much longer, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about those? There are some like I think it was on I don't know if it's like it was on Shark Tank or one of those like fundraising Kickstarter.
Okay.
Right. And then they're like, I think Better Back, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Like, where you put those knee thing, like it has two things that wraps on your knees, straps onto your back, and then just forces you up, right?
Yeah, pushes you forward.
Yeah. What do you think about those? Like, do you think those help, or compared to like working out or whatever?
Yeah. To be completely honest, I actually haven't tried that. I've seen it, and I personally didn't buy into it, just because it's another accessory that you'll have to lug around with you, strap yourself in.
Right.
And for me, it's more of the mind. So like you train yourself to think that you need to do it.
Right.
Right. So you need to sit up straight. You need to stand up. It's time to move your body.
Right.
And that actually has helped me a little bit more in the gym with my mind-muscle connection, and just strengthening my ability to think on what I need to get accomplished.
Right.
Because if you're constantly finding, shortcuts to better yourself or whatever, it becomes a habit, and that's not something that I really promote. There's a whole bunch of tools that are great for people who need it, but if you can just sit down, think about, okay, today I want to sit up straight for 30 minutes. That's it.
Right.
And just train yourself to hit those goals, try to reach those little pointers throughout the day. It actually trains yourself for anywhere, not just the gym, but anywhere. But talking about fitness specifically is when you hit the gym, you'll be like, okay, you know what, today I want to do 3 sets of 10 reps for whatever exercise, and you actually try to train yourself so that you can hit those. And mentally you become stronger.
Right.
If you don't hit it, you don't feel bad. You just say, okay, you know what, I'll get it next time. And then that's the same thing for at the office, right? So it's like if today I want to drink 5 cups of water,
Mm-hmm.
and you only hit 3, that's okay. Try it again tomorrow, and you just build that that thought process.
I mean, one of the questions, like I want to dig a little deeper on this because
Sure.
we all know that hitting the gym is a good thing or exercising is a good thing,
Yeah.
right? We just gotta keep moving, especially
Yeah.
in this day and age. We just can't seem to do it. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you like you work a 9 to 5 job? You mean and you're jacked and juicy all the time, right? Like I've seen your photos, dude. It's like this is not normal. A normal person is hard to keep that kind of physique.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you do it? Like how can you like you talk about focus and
Yeah.
accomplishing this, but how do you do it?
It's literally just dedication,
Okay.
and where you put your priorities. So, in Hong Kong, there's an array and abundance of things that you can do with your time if you're not in the office. And I think one thing that people forget is that being physical or being healthy doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hit the gym,
Okay.
right? So I hit the gym because I like it.
Right.
I like to train my muscles. There's a whole bunch of other ways to stay active, right?
Such
so,
as?
so you can go on a hike. You can go for a neighborhood run. If you're a runner, you might not want to hit the gym. You don't want to hit the treadmills, right? So go for a run in your neighborhood. You can go biking. I used to love biking, and Toronto has a bunch of trails. You can mountain bike, you can city bike, whatever it is. So these are like little ways for you to stay active. And even for those who aren't motivated to move at all, hit the weights, or even find a personal trainer, just go for a walk. Like a brisk walk in Toronto, about maybe 20 minutes, would probably burn up to like 100 calories because of how much land space there is here.
Right. Right.
So that's one thing that I would definitely say for people who first start off and they're like, oh, I want to be like that, but I just don't have the time.
Right.
Just find something that you're interested in, right? It could be any sport. It could be badminton, soccer, basketball,
Or even walking.
even walking.
Like
Exactly.
walking in the shopping mall.
Exactly.
Right.
That'll help you burn enough calories, and then slowly, if losing weight is a big thing for you, you can definitely start off that way, and then you just add on to that because when you start to see some results, you kind of get addicted to it. So I really like weight training, and I like to hit the gym. So what I'll do is I'll schedule, okay, if I've got time during my lunch, then I'll go for a lunch session. And then if I've got nothing else better to do at night, I'll go after work. So you see some of the photos that I post up, it's probably because I do like 2 sessions a day, and then I go to the gym for 5 to 6 days.
Dude, when I come back to Hong Kong and we go on those gym like we just check out different gyms.
Yeah.
And we get those like 1 week subscriptions. You guys don't know this, but I go once a week, or maybe once a day with Mason. Every time I go back to Hong Kong, which is about once a year. Mason goes like when we get those like subscriptions, like sign up at the gym. Mason goes like 2 or 3 times a day. It's crazy. Like you go in the morning, I message you at 6 a.m. and you're like, "Are you there?" Like, "Yeah, I'm on the treadmill." I was like, "Okay, sorry, I'm running late, right?"
Yeah.
And then you gotta go to work, and then like after work you're there, and then like at night you're sometimes you're working out as well, like 3 times a day. Like, okay, so obviously exercise is important, and you take the exercise bit to like some next level crazy stuff, right? But how about the other bits, like other things that support your health? So it's not just exercise, right?
So you need to off balance everything, and with fitness, it goes hand in hand with nutrition. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of things, and I've written a little bit about what it is that you want to do based on your fitness goals. But in general, what I would say is you would probably want to do like a 60-40 balance, where 60% of the focus you want to do is on nutrition, and then 40% on whatever physical activity it is that you want to participate in.
Okay.
And that balance has been really, really good for myself. And to some of the friends who've asked me for advice, not a lot of people focus on their nutrition right off the get-go.
Right.
And that actually has a counter effect on when they start to try to hit the
Right,
gym.
because nutrition, like sometimes you feel like, okay, I just clocked an hour at the gym on the treadmill. I'm gonna go get myself 2 Big Macs kind of thing.
Yeah.
right?
So yeah, that's exactly it, right? You want to reward yourself after
Yeah.
putting in some work at whatever gym or
Right.
whatever fitness thing that you're doing, right? So that's the number one problem that a lot of people face is, okay, since I've clocked in about an hour's worth of gym time, let me go hit up the burger joint and grab a nice juicy protein meal. But what they don't know is that the burger comes with a lot of fat and then comes with a lot of carbs, and then it's not healthy fats that they're eating. It's like saturated, processed meat, and then all that effort that they did, it just compensates, and then it's almost like they never worked out. So when people first start working out, they'll hit the gym for X amount of time, and then they do that, they eat something really bad, and then they don't work out again throughout the day. And then throughout maybe about a month to 3 months time, yeah, they might get a little bit of results. Some of the muscles might grow a little bit, or they might lean out slightly.
Right.
But then they'll be like, you know what? Like I put in all this time, put in all this effort, and it hasn't really taken me that far. Screw it. And or like they get demotivated, right? So they'll go less to the gym.
Right.
They'll lose focus of what they really wanted, and then that's kind of like the slippery slope where they just kind of just throw it all away.
Right. Start giving up. Like once you make the first compromise, like, you know what, I'm gonna skip gym one day, kind of thing. And that's the slippery slope from there.
Right. So to balance everything out, you need to. There's a couple things that I would just kind of throw out there at the very, very beginning is make sure you stay hydrated throughout the day. Water is one of the best ways to lose weight. And
I thought the thing is like what's water weight, right? I mean,
yeah.
How is it the best way to lose weight?
Well, if you drink enough water, you actually start feeling full. And when you hit your meals, you won't actually eat as much.
Right.
So if you're looking to have a caloric deficit, and you don't...
What's a caloric deficit?
So let's just say like within a day, for instance, you want to eat 1,000 calories.
We need 2,000 calories a day or something like that.
Yeah.
Average person.
Yeah. But just using a nice round number, let's say you're supposed to eat 1,000 calories, right?
Okay.
A caloric deficit means that you have a deficit amount. So you actually, for that day, you actually only eat 700. But that doesn't account for your activities and exercise and stuff like that. So actually, if you eat 1,000 calories, but then you burn 300 working out, then you'll have a caloric deficit. And then people start to lose weight that way. So bringing that back to nutrition is if you drink a lot of water, you'll feel full. So when you don't eat as much during your meals, you start to slowly have less of a or you'll start to have the caloric deficit that you're trying to build up for that day anyways.
Right.
And it's proven time and time again that water is the most, like the cheapest and most effective way for people to lose weight. But if you want to increase that by just a tad, you can drink tea. Tea is slightly better than coffee, I would say, just because of the caffeine levels. But any type of tea, like green tea, black tea, red tea, whatever it is, that actually there's a little bit of fat burning properties within tea that works a little bit faster than water because water just it has none of that. Right. So mixing that up with what you eat throughout the day is very, very important. Obviously, within your caloric daily intake, you want to have you want to hit your macros. So
what's a macro?
Yeah, so macronutrients are everyone's heard of them. They just probably don't know the terms. It's protein, carbs, and fat. So the mixture of these three things actually compensate for your calories.
And so what are these like vitamins stuff then?
So vitamins are they're the micronutrients. The micronutrients.
Okay.
Those are like to supplement your bodily functions. So in your immune system, those you can get those mostly from any fruits and vegetables. So another thing that I would say about nutrients is that having enough fruits and vegetable intake is also a very, very important thing that people compensate for. And you can actually have your carb intake from just eating vegetables. One thing to know, though, is when you get a salad, don't spruce it up with a bunch of dressing, right? So yeah, it tastes a lot better,
right?
But again, you're throwing away the main goal that you have if you load it up with, you know, a bunch of dressing, or you have like more cheese to compensate than the actual salad. So a lot of people think that, oh, you know, if I go on a 2-week detox salad diet, I'm gonna lose some inches off my weight. But then they actually end up, you know, the little tubs of dressing that come on the side, they dump it in.
That's like 400 calories right there.
Exactly. And they don't realize that all the hard work or the dedication that they put into just eating salad goes to waste with that little tub of dressing.
Right. And it's all like fat. Pretty much. Fat with like a little bit of carbohydrates. Right.
So that's one thing that I usually tell my friends when they ask me, hey, like if I want to lose weight, what should I do? And I say, don't worry about the gym. Think about your diet.
Just eat healthy.
Yeah. Do you eat breakfast? Do you drink enough water? What do you eat for dinner? And one thing that I've tried myself as well, because when I go on clean cycles, I usually don't eat as many carbs, or I cut out refined carbs. And refined carbs are basically anything that's white based.
Like white bread, white rice, all that stuff. Yeah. It's because all the nutrients been cleaned out, pretty much refined out.
Right. So when people, you know, coming from a Chinese family, every night you eat white rice, right? What I would substitute that for is either brown rice or red rice, or like whole grain rices or things like that, where it's slightly healthier, but you can still get your carb intake. Then the next question I would ask is, okay, how many carbs are you actually eating? Well, people say, like 2 bowls of rice. Well, maybe that's a little bit too much, especially before you go to bed. Right. So there's a whole bunch of things that tie into nutrients, and it just, you need to know some of the tips and tricks, and that's kind of where my blog kind of comes in. So like I've learned these little like tips. I've tried it out myself, and then I just start talking about that. And one thing to notice is that something that might work for me might not work for you. Because we have different body types. But it would be interesting for you to know at least what has worked. And what's also important to know is that you're willing to try it out. Right. So a lot of people are like, oh man, like clean cycles are, they're so hard. Like, how do you do that? And for me, it's not hard because it's more of a habit. So it's like a personal preference, a choice, right? So I would choose not to eat certain things, or I would choose to eat certain things that people would be like, oh, why are you eating that? But you still stay so fit. And it's all the experimenting that I've done with flexible dieting, and like how do I burn that off afterwards. If I eat like a nice cinnabon with a slab of ice cream, how can I eat that but still keep a 4-pack, for example, right? And it's like you mentioned, being able to balance everything out. And you know what, when I do trial and errors, I spend, was it 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks,
just to try it out,
right? What's a month in a year for you to try out something, right?
Or like a month in a decade or a lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, some people say, oh, that's too long. Okay, fine. Take 2 weeks then. Right.
Because it takes time for your body to adapt anyways. Your body can't, like, your gut, like the way your body responds to different foods and different routines and regimens. Like it needs time. It's
crazy how smart your body is, and all the things that it tells you is phenomenal, right? So it's funny that you just mentioned that. I'm a huge advocate of flexible dieting. So I won't not eat anything, as long as I hit the right amount of numbers for my calories.
And how do you keep track of that?
I use this app called, actually you recommended it to me. So
you're not supposed to say that on camera, but I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it.
No, it's just yeah. John came to Hong Kong one year, and he started like tracking. You started tracking your calories, right? So I was like, oh, you don't need that, right? Like
flexible dieting.
Yeah, I do flexible dieting, right? So oh, that's only for contest prepping, and I was like, you really don't need that. And then that summer, while John was doing that, I kept on doing my flexible dieting. It's been working for me for years, right? And then John started like slimming down a little bit. I was like, okay, I kind of want to try it out. So I used the app that you recommended. It's called MyFitnessPal. And basically you set a goal. You say, you know what, I'm this weight, I want to hit. I either want to lose weight, or I want to gain weight, or I want to maintain weight. And then you just tell them how much activity, like work activity that you do.
Yeah, you track it on your watch or whatever.
Exactly. And then it actually just does all the math for you. So it tells you how much fat you should intake. It tells you how much proteins and carbs things have. And what's so good about this app is that it's got this massive database of foods that people have recorded in.
And you just scan the barcode, right?
Exactly. You just scan the barcode. Or if you're eating at a restaurant, just type it in, and someone's probably put it in already.
Right.
And then that way you can kind of know, okay, within this meal, this is how much I've taken and whatnot. And then throughout the day, you just see, okay, did I hit my goals?
Yeah.
And before all of this, for me, what flexible dieting really meant was if I eat a lot of carbs in one meal, then I'll eat less in another meal. And you know what? That's still hold true to today, even when I use the app. But with the app, you get to see some metrics, and since we're such a metric-driven society nowadays, it's nice to see. Okay, these are my bar charts. What do I need to do to reach those goals? And it's just visually appealing. Whereas for me before,
it's motivating to see yourself, able to hit these metrics every day.
Exactly.
Right, and now with like the weighted scales, you stand on top of it, and you're like, okay, you can actually track your weight. Your body fat percentage, your BMI. We don't know how accurate those metrics actually are. But there's something tracking at least. Right. And then you see that on your app too. It's like, okay, you get a better, and you also got the eye test, right? The mirror test. You check yourself out in the mirror. I was like, okay, how am I doing, right? So, but let's go back to let's go back to fitness and education and work, right? How does fitness help? Like, why is it important for students or people working? To work out, like, does it help with their work? Does it help with their production, right? Is it worth spending that time to hit the gym?
So I think besides the self-improvement part of like physically looking good, there's a whole bunch of things that working out actually helps out with, or at least it's helped me out with, right? So one thing that I've touched on was like mental strengthening. It allows you to set goals, and then you move forward and try to like train yourself to think, okay, I've set this goal, I want to hit it. And you translate that into any environment, whether you're at school because you're always hitting, I want to get 80% on my test. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? When you're at work, okay, I want to finish this by 5 p.m. today. Well, how are you going to do that? Right. So
set goals. That's you got to start with a goal, right?
So working out is kind of the same thing. You set goals for yourself. Okay. You know what? Summer's around the corner. What is it? April. So you got 2 months.
To get a beach bod.
Exactly. So I want a beach bod. How are you going to do that? In 2 months. You set yourself goals. You set yourself timelines and things like that. Right. Another thing that it actually helped me with is stress. So I would say I'm kind of like an angry person. And
you rage easily. Behind the wheel.
Exactly. Well, not behind the wheel, but like a lot of things just spark me, and I can get in a really foul mood really easily. And what I found is working out at the gym helps me de-stress a little bit.
Mellows you out.
Exactly. So I channel all of that anger into pushing harder, lifting heavier. And then by the end of it, I'm so exhausted, you don't even remember about like why you were so pissed.
You become mellow.
Exactly.
Like, chill. It's like,
Exactly. And sometimes when I was stressed about, school or work or whatever, it just takes my mind off of that, and it just lets me, work on myself and not have to worry about the chaotic stuff that's happening outside. And I don't know if a lot of people feel the same way, but just give it a try. If you're really, really stressed one day, or you're like you got into a heated argument with a family member or a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever,
Or boss.
or yeah, even your boss.
Right.
If you just hit the gym and whatever it is that you were doing before, just like double the weight, you'll feel so exhausted afterwards. You're gonna be like, why was I so pissed?
Right.
And you'll feel like, oh, that's actually not like something will click in your mind where it's like, oh, that's not actually that big of a deal.
Right.
And then from there, you actually say, okay, I hit this problem. What can I do to fix it? And then your goal settings actually start to come back into play, and you'll be like, okay, so my boss wasn't happy with my performance. So, is it something that I did wrong? Is it something that I can improve on? And you start to think of ways, rather than thinking that you're right all the time, you start to try to think of ways to improve your situation, right? So that's what I felt really helped me out with. And when younger people talk to me about this, or when based on the question that you've asked me, like, why should people spend so much time? It's an alleyway for people to vent. Well, it was for me anyways, to vent some of their emotions, and then helps them get back on track with whatever it is that they're struggling with in life.
Right.
And it's been really, really effective for me. So yeah, that's one of the biggest recommendations. And since anything that not anything that you learn at the gym is applicable to all environments, but there's a lot of self-improvement that builds you as a person, your character at the gym, like things like determination, things like your passion for something. These things start to build up over time, and you don't notice it at the gym, right? Because again, physically, all you see is your big muscles coming out. But over time, like goal setting, you'll get better at it. The fact that you want to accomplish something at a very short amount of time, you translate that into any environment, whether you're a student, whether you're working, and it just becomes a habit.
Right.
And sooner or later, you'll notice that, oh, like I've become more productive at work.
Right.
Or I'm really good at doing something.
Right.
And it just all kind of folds together.
Right. Right. So it's kind of like a snowball analogy, right? You get the first, like the snowball can be this big, right?
Yeah.
You hit the gym once, you roll the snowball rolls a little bit, and then over time it's like, oh wait, I'm actually getting results in the gym, and this determination, this type of habit setting, this type of focus is doing me well.
Yeah.
And then that kind of translates to like your attitude at work, or your attitude in like your other stuff, like extracurriculars, or with your family, or with just different tasks in life, and it just like goes across the board. And all you need is that very first snowball to roll.
And I think one thing that is very apparent is self-confidence. When you look good, you act a different way. Like the better part of you comes out.
Right, your chest goes up, right?
Chest
up.
I mean, like besides the chest coming out, right?
Yo. Okay, I want to talk about this story because I want you to tell the story to everyone, right?
Sure.
So we're talking about puffing your chest up and confidence. And remember that time I asked you about you in Hong Kong and anyone giving you trouble?
Yeah.
So tell us that story. That's an awesome story. Like, this is just the epitome of the ability to just puff your chest up and get your way.
Yeah. So, Hong Kong has a lot of people, and you're bound to hit someone, or someone's like gonna hit you, and
just like bump shoulders kind of thing, right?
Exactly. So, because my back was a little bit weaker before, and I had a stronger chest. So, I was just walking, and a group of people walked past me, and one of the guys actually hit my shoulder, right? So, I just kept walking, and he turned around, and he was like, "Yo, what the hell, man? You hit me, right?"
Right.
So, basically, I turned around, and I don't know, like, it was just second nature to me. I just, like, I pushed out my chest to have good form, and I said, "What's up?" And
were you wearing a stringer at the time? Or?
I was wearing a tank top.
Tank top, right? So
I was wearing a tank top.
So you were like, it was obvious that chest was like bulging out.
Right? Yeah. And then basically he was like, he didn't say sorry, but he basically said, you know, just because you're big, you don't run the streets, right? Because he thought that I hit him.
Uh-huh.
So in Chinese, he was like, 大隻大晒咩咁樣, right? So, and then basically I turned around and said, you know, you weren't looking at where you're going. It's just one of me. I'm walking on my side, and you guys have a whole bunch of people. And then basically that just kind of shut him up. And it's the self-confidence
Right.
to know that you weren't in the wrong and be able to face people, and tell them like, hey, you know what? You have a bunch of people. You guys can consolidate and walk off to the side. I'm just here on my own lane, doing my own thing.
Stay in your lane.
Exactly. I didn't cause no troubles or anything like that. And
Right.
I guess this guy was just trying to pick a fight. And,
Right.
you know, I wasn't about to step down or let him step all over me.
Right.
And it was just that self-confidence, that spark that just said, like, I'm not going to take that from you. And don't get me wrong. I'm not, like, going out onto the street trying to pick fights with people and, like, push my chest out, right?
Yeah.
It just happened that this guy...
He wanted to start something.
Yeah, he wanted to start something. And I wasn't going to fold to that.
Right, right. Yeah, and like, you know, physiologically speaking, it's like, you know, working out causes you to have a lot more serotonin in your system.
Yeah.
And the serotonin is, you know, it's what makes you puff your chest up, right? When you see Russell Westbrook dunk all over people, right? And he's just doing this thing, this beast mode thing. That's serotonin screaming, right?
Yeah.
So just having more serotonin helps you draw the boundaries, makes you more confident in standing up for yourself, right? And that this type of self, like you said, self-confidence translates across the board to like a lot of other things.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not even about just how you look at that moment.
Right.
It
Just outlook.
you turn around and you feel like not accomplishment, but you feel proud of yourself for being able to step up for yourself at a crucial time like that, right?
Right.
And that kind of comes across, like, for students when I remember, like, when I used to do presentations, right? If the judge panel asked me a question that I wasn't sure, I'd either try to deflect it or I would try to, you know, not answer it in a way that would help me lose marks.
Right.
But now, based on, like, how I stand and the form, if you've got a very nice posture, even if you talk about absolutely nonsense, right?
Right.
If you look confident, the judge will buy into it.
Right, that's half of the battle already.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's for anything. Like, if you're at a job interview, if you're, you know, just trying to chase a girl or whatever it is, if you are confident in yourself, people love that.
Right. But
And
alternatively, if you're hunched and you look like you're lacking confidence, you're always looking up like that.
Yeah. If you look shady, if you look weak, not in the sense that you're scrawny, but just like what you just said, like scrunched over, it just
Like the
portrays.
bad form we were talking at the beginning.
Yeah, it just portrays a different image of yourself, one that might not be true at all, right? But that's just how society works, you know. What people see is the first thing, and the first impression that you make on people is it's very crucial. So
Right. Interesting. Okay, so if you're to give advice to millennials and Gen Zs, right, in terms of fitness and, you know, just accomplishing their goals, what would it be? Like, just one, if you were to give one most crucial advice.
Yeah. Focus on yourself, on your goals. Don't worry about what your buddies are doing. Don't worry about the big guy in the corner who's, like, lifting 100 pounds. Work on what you've set out to do for yourself. So if your goal, you just start off small. Just be like, you know what, my goal is to be able to make the soccer team, right, at school. And if you know that you can't run as well, then start building little goals to reach that big goal and be like, okay, you know, I have to run at least 10 laps so that I can train my endurance. Then slowly build up to that. Because when I first started off working out, it's all about what other people are doing. It's all about what's my buddy's split.
Right.
That's called the bro split, right? So it's like, even like when we first started working out, you would ask me what I was doing, and then you'd follow me. And when you are when you dive into a bro split, you have no say for yourself. You don't know if that's right for you. You don't know if you're doing it right. because your buddy, it probably isn't looking out for you.
Right.
And that's one thing that I've noticed has completely changed me, right? So I used to work out following or shadowing my buddy doing the bro split, and I realized, one, the form was completely wrong. Two, I was working on different muscle groups that I shouldn't have been working on. And three, I totally neglected fundamentals that needed to bring me to the next level. So that would be my number one suggestion. Don't worry about what's happening around you. Focus on yourself. It's cliche, but it's really you versus you, right?
Right.
When you're standing in front of the dumbbell rack and you're doing bicep curls, like I started off with 10 pounds, and people like would laugh at me if I was standing in front of the dumbbell rack with 10 pounds doing curls.
Right.
But who cares?
Right.
Right? Like if you are just trying to build a little bit of muscle, and the guy beside you is curling 30s, maybe he's not going for the same goals as you.
Right.
You know? He might be trying to build on massive pythons that might not. Okay, first of all, that might not even look good on you, and second of all, that's not your goal, right? If you're trying to be a soccer player, you don't want to be big and bulky because you won't be able to run as quickly, right? So if you just want lean muscles, 10, 15 pounds is enough. So don't worry about the guy who's curling beside you.
Right.
Worry about yourself.
Right. That guy might be going for like, you know, an Olympia competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Right. And he's maybe you might have like, you know, 15 years of experience.
Yeah.
And how can you expect yourself to compare to someone who's been like, you know, lifting for 15 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like how do you expect yourself to compare? Like how can you, like a newbie who just learned how to do a jump shot, compare himself to LeBron James? You just don't.
Exactly. And then that kind of leads to the next point where it's if you found someone at the gym who has relatively the same goals as you, then you would probably want to start asking, not mirroring. So not like, oh, since he's doing that, I'm gonna do that.
Right.
But actually just inquire and be like, hey, like, what's your split like? How can I incorporate that into my routine? Not how can I do exactly what he's doing so I can look like him, right? Because once again, everybody's body types are different, and like as similar as our workouts might be, you're bigger than me, right? So you can lift a lot heavier. Whereas for me,
my base is bigger than you.
Exactly.
Right.
So I don't lift as heavy, but I look aesthetically leaner. But you can lift, you're a lot stronger than me, right? Or heavier than me. So it's really, really important for people to understand that one, stay in your lane, focus on your own stuff.
Yeah.
And two, if you found someone who relatively has the same goals as you, inquire how you can take some of their good stuff and put it into your own regimen rather than just ditching your own goals and following someone else. Because then you would just be going back to square one and comparing yourself to other people.
Right. So last question. What's your future goals for Self-Made?
You know, at this moment, I really want to just build a community of passionate people. So at the moment, right, it's just one perspective, which is me being able to share my experiences, which I'm more than happy to do. But I want to build a community of like-minded people who also want to share and give back as well. And you know, as I grow older and as time goes on, you know, I will have my own perspectives, but hopefully by that time, someone who has followed my journey the whole way can share how I've helped them, but then also how they can help other people.
Right.
And it's literally just a community of people helping each other.
Right. Just like how you've helped me in my fitness journey, right?
Exactly. And it's like an effect where it just kind of it's like a tap and go, right? So it's like almost like playing tag, where it's like you came to me, I tagged you, and your family has seen your growth.
It's huge.
Right?
It's huge,
and they get affected by you, and then you tag them, and then their friends, and then so it just kind of grows and branches off like that. And
like it's branched off in my family. Like my brothers-in-law, you know, they've worked out a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. Since I've been changed by you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the effect that I want. And you know, I'm not at a stage where I'll be able to offer you know, online coaching or anything like that because one, that's not the main purpose of my blog. I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm literally just putting things out there for people to learn, and just kind of giving back to people who might be in the same situation I was 9 to 10 years ago.
Right. Right.
And I can't think of a better way to start somewhere. And the name of my blog, it's called Self-Made Athletes. It's pretty much self-explanatory, right?
Right.
I started off not knowing anything, and I've built myself to a certain degree now. And I'm 100% sure there's a lot of people trying to make it out on their own as well. And this is kind of the community where we're all being self-made. We're all teaching ourselves how to better and build ourselves.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, you got a family of people who are more than happy to share their knowledge, their experiences, and just grow together that way.
Right. All right. Thanks for your time today, Mason.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
All right.